So I planted a food forest for the first time this year, and I was skeptical if anything would grow. In books about starting farms and orchards, they say it's important to find the perfect land with fertile soil, and clearly I didn't have that. But I still had this desire to try and grow some fruit because my choices were either to keep living with a boring lawn or try and make this into a productive space. So I decided to ignore all my doubts and started planting. And I'm so glad I did because we've been overwhelmed with our harvests even in our very first year. Let me show you what we've been harvesting and eating this summer. We got one perfect watermelon this year. Melons are planted in early summer because they love the heat, and to be honest, I was getting a bit sluggish from the heat and humidity when that time rolled around. So we planted just one underneath the pear tree and kind of forgot about it. But even with neglect, this watermelon just wanted to grow, which blows my mind. Today is an exciting day because we are going to try my one and only watermelon! It was the only one that grew. I don't know why. I think I was just a little overwhelmed with everything else that I was trying to grow. So this one survived with lots of neglect. Let's see how he tastes. Oops. Wait. It's really good. I guess the one downside is that there's lots of seeds. This is the best watermelon I've ever had because it's the one I grew. I'm just so proud of it. Little secret ingredients. Salt. We also planted grapes in our front yard, which is a big mess right now. We have this giant oak tree that pretty much shades half the space, so I didn't know if anything would grow, but the grapes seem to be growing slowly and not dying at least. I cover cropped this whole area with sorghum Sudan grass, hoping their deep roots break up the super compacted soil here, so we'll see how that works after a year. Most of my attention ended up going to the backyard, so this front space has been completely ignored.
This is my neglected front yard. As you can see, we have killed a peach tree because we weed whacked it on accident.
Luckily, grapes are adapted to the Mediterranean climate and don't mind a droughty environment. We just got a few grapes and they were really small and half of it was seed, but I grew them and the fact alone just makes me so happy. I planted two varieties, Le Noir and Favorite, both of which are wine grapes known to do well in my area. Honestly, when I was choosing what varieties to order, I was like, what's the easiest grapes to grow here? And went with the most disease-resistant types. But in hindsight, I wish I planted table grapes and not wine grapes. Oh well, next year I'll just have to plant more. Because of the seeds, these weren't particularly fun to eat, so I decided to make homemade grape juice. I don't want it to end. The figs are popping off like crazy. This is the one tree we've had before the food forest transformation. I think I planted it 4 years ago when the tiny tree fit in the backseat of my car. But pretty much from the second year, it's been producing so much fruit. The one problem with growing figs is that it's a competition against the squirrels and birds. They seem to know right when a fig is about to get ripe and will come take it. We tried using shiny streamers, they didn't seem to care. We also tried covering the tree, which worked for a while, but eventually the cloth started to rip because it was meant for vegetable beds and not for trees. At this point, we have more than enough for us to eat, so we've given up trying to protect them. As for melons, we harvested so many, which was super exciting. But I think I may have picked some of them too early because those ones weren't that sweet. What we've learned this year with melons and winter squash is that you have to pick them at the exact right time. If you pick them too early, it doesn't have time to store all of the sugars and will rot faster on the counter. Oh well, another lesson learned for next year. The other fruit trees are growing nicely, but I don't expect to get any fruit off of them for at least another year. But that's okay. In their first few years, they should be focusing on growing a nice, healthy root system anyway. You can't build a house without a good foundation, and it's the same for trees. I'm just surprised that things grew to the point where I can harvest them because I've never had success growing fruit in the past. The last time I tried growing a watermelon, it grew to the size of a baseball. What I've come to realize is that growing anything is all about trial and error. Things fail and you just learn and adapt and get incrementally better each year. And honestly, I think being a beginner is the best way to start a food forest because you're somewhat expecting to fail and embracing the learning by doing mindset. Plants are quite resilient and they will tell you if something is wrong. All you have to do is be attentive and most issues can be corrected and your plants will bounce back. For me already, I've kind of figured out which fruit trees are thriving and which ones are doing poorly. And it's kind of what I expected. The trees that are adapted to the Mediterranean climate, like figs, pomegranates, and grapes, are doing way better than the others. Even with tomatoes, the only ones that are continuing to thrive in this 100-degree weather at this point are the San Marzanos, which are grown in southern Italy where it gets lots of sunshine. Building on my knowledge, I'll adapt what trees and veggies I'll plant next year. Thanks for watching and see you next time.